All right. There he is. How you feeling, my man? You feeling good?
Doing well. Got in late last night to the city. Enjoyed the views. Got a view of the Empire State Building from my hotel in the city, and then the ride over to East Rutherford, New Jersey. Always a nice one when you see the Manhattan skyline when you come across to Jersey.
There you go. Okay, got a little better there. You kind of faded a little bit there. Inactives, dude. All this breaking news and stuff. Chan, there was no way he was playing, dude. He was out for a month, and he couldn't even last a couple of plays in the game. You think you're going to bring him back against a brutal defense like this? Like I had no doubts that he was never going to play this.
Yeah, and it's the right call. I mean, it's you got to feel optimistic that he was even able to go through a limited practice after that. Obviously, you think the worst one very early in a return from a 4-week absence and IR stint. That 3 touches in, he is out again and then doesn't return. So he was vying to get back into that game, although Mike McDaniel made the right call to just protect him from himself. A game that the Dolphins should have still won, and they did indeed still win, although carried by the defense. So you give him this week, and then he'll get an even longer week now from this game. You get the mini bye, sort of. I know you usually say that about a Thursday night game. This is Black Friday, but still, you get the weekend, and then it's more than 7 days. What is it, 9 days before the next game at Washington?
Yeah, no, definitely. And again, winnable game. And listen, one of the things that I've said throughout the week, but today, dude, the strategy today is super easy. Just don't turn over the ball. Just don't do stupid things. That's all. If you stay away from stupid things and you don't turn over the ball, you will easily win this game. Will it be easy to score in the Jets defense? Of course not. But the Jets offense has no business scoring on you. So don't give them short fields. Don't give them turnovers. Don't give up on the run. Just, do common, normal things, and you won't get into a hole with Carolina. You won't allow the Raiders to stay in the game. That's the only reason these shitty teams have been in games, because Miami fuels that fire every single time against these kind of teams.
Yeah, you took exactly what I was going to say. That's the only reason the Raiders last week, where I was going to go back to Carolina, but the Raiders last week, that's the only reason they were still in the game. Turnovers unnecessarily, especially when they're deep in your own territory a couple times with Tua, his fumble, the Julian Hill fumble. I mean, those are just automatic points.
Field position battle was terrible. Using it all the time.
Yeah, where then all you do is really have just one bad defensive play, which is the Devontae Adams touchdown over the top, and then you're not scoring, you're turning the ball over. It ends up being a tight game against a team like the Raiders. So the Jets have an even better defense than the Raiders, although they are vulnerable on the ground. So Raheem Mostert and Jeff Wilson can get it going that way. Opportunities for the Dolphins to win time of possession and play a safer brand of football that way to take a lead and hold on to it. But obviously that's the biggest key. That's what they honed in on. That's what Tua was harping on ever since the minute he was post-game last week. Melanie Collins on the sideline right after the game. She asked him a question about the shuffling offensive line, and then his mind was still on the turnover. He was like, it starts with me. I cannot turn the ball over. My colleague Chris Perkins asked him a question about the run game, and then he started talking about the turnovers. It was just so heavy on his mind, where every answer is just what he wanted to get off his chest. So he knows it, and the Dolphins also have to be better in short yardage situations. Those third downs, third and shorts, third and 3, and less than that. Then converting those—that's a huge key, so that you keep drives going, and then you don't get into the third and longs, and then you don't turn the ball over. Those will be some of the keys to just making sure you do what you're supposed to do against the Jets.
Dude, I love that he was hard on himself, because I was hard. I'm hard on him now about this, because lately he's turning it over too much, and maybe he's getting a little cocky, a little confident, like that throw that I pointed out last week that he throws. He forces to Waddle in between 3 guys. And dude, just to your left, there's a guy all by himself. You can't do that. You got. I get it. He's supremely confident, which is a beautiful thing, by the way, because there's a lot of quarterbacks that are scared to put it in tight windows. He is fearless of that, which is part of being a great quarterback. Is that you must be fearless, and you must be willing to put it in windows that are really tight because that's the NFL. But lately, he's been forcing it, and then that turnover, was dumb because you dove. You got to slide, bro. You've been doing a great job of taking care of your body. I love that he was hard on himself because that's a dude being honest. That the reason why they were in the game is because, dude, you're effing around right now and you're not doing what you're supposed to do. And I'm glad that Tua took it that way. He should.
Yeah, and obviously there's a fine line. I mean, because we're seeing such elite play from Tua aside from those turnovers. So yeah, there's a way that he's processing things where he understands some of the risks he is able to take, but then there is that fine line between that one was a little bit too risky, and then or just the decision was off. He tried to squeeze into one lane that he thought he could get into when he had a wide open guy. So yeah, that comes with the confidence of when you are playing well, maybe this feeling of invincibility that, well, I'm just going at such a high rate where I know my throws are working, and then you have to kind of be able to decipher, well, that's not the throw I should make. Where maybe when you do have a turnover, that's when you start being a little more conscious of it. So maybe just finding the balance of playing with the confidence, but also being conscious of the throws that he can't fit in there, regardless of how confident he is.
Do you think because nobody's going to talk about that publicly with any of you guys, and you're going to write it down. Oh, this player said, all we got to do is play smart and we'll take care of these clowns. They're not going to tell you. But how aware are they that if you just play responsible football, you might make life easy on yourself? You know what I'm saying? I'm just wondering, they're not going to physically tell you that against an opponent, but in general, do you hear that from them? Because, I would hope that brother, you stay away from turnovers. It's amazing how many games. The year with the Chad Pennington and the Wildcat and all that those offenses sucked, bro. They barely could score, and they had good defense. But the key was Chad Pennington did not turn over the ball. He barely ever had turnovers, and it
Except
is
the
a
playoff game against the Ravens. Then it just
yeah,
completely went off. Yeah.
because then at that point he was overmatched at that point, and so it was over at that point. But to get you to that point, he was magnificent in staying away from turnovers, and it is a beautiful thing in this league, brother. If you stay away from turnovers, you're gonna have a chance to win freaking 85% of your games.
To piggyback on your point early in that answer, yeah, I think it goes back to two things that you often hear from players. Is one is always the respect of the opponent, like you mentioned. Like they'll never say, "Oh, yeah, I mean, we should handle them," but they're always going to say, "Yeah, they're NFL players too," on the other side, etc. But then the other part that you always hear, which contrast it is, they often always say, it's what we did, the self-inflicted wounds have to stop, and really it's nothing that the defense did, we cannot do that. So yeah, there is sort of a balance between the two ideas, and yeah, both of them are kind of in the mindset here of for this game specifically. This is a good example of it. Exactly.
One of the things we talked about on our show throughout the training camp and leading into the regular season is that I predicted that they would keep Brooks. He was one of the guys that I thought they would hold the spot for. And at that time, there were still guys that were in flux, and would they do this or that? And will they keep them long term? And I said, yeah, they're going to keep 5 because they're going to. Well, now with all the injuries, all the injuries, I mean, it's a guarantee, isn't it? That Brooks will be one of the IR guys to come back, solely because you need 5 backs. It's been proven over and over again. Look, today you're going in, you've got banged up guys, and you're down to 3. And you've got the Arrington kid was activated and everything. It shows you where you're at in this league, and especially the Dolphins. Brother, you need at least 5 backs.
Yeah, yeah. So they are at 6 of the 8 that they can use off of the IR or NFI, and then so now it becomes more likely, really, that you end up using one of those last two on Chris Brooks. So now the key being Saban Ahmed for as whatever you want to say about his play, that now he's on IR. So that's depth and also a special teams player that the Dolphins will be missing out on. So now at this point, when you don't have HN, then it's Mostert and Wilson, and then you have to call up the Darrington Evans off the practice squad. So that's one of your elevations that you can use there. And then if down the road, which McDaniel has said, that Chris Brooks is in consideration for one of those designations to return, then that would seem like a spot, especially since you're probably going to end up with another injury at running back. It's just the nature of the position. So as guys are in and out, then yeah, I mean, Chris Brooks might be one of those last two. And then if Isaiah Wynn is able to come back, which it seems difficult at this point, McDaniel did say he has a long road to come back, but then he could be the other one. But then you end up just kind of getting close to the end anyway, where once you put a guy on IR, then it's not that many. It's not that big of a window where he's going to be out for 4 weeks and then he's still able to return anyway. So you end up just using that spot.
We're getting to a point now where you have to decide: you keep him on the active roster injured,
Right.
or you put him on, or he's done for the year. And
Right.
that's going to become the next option. You're already doing it with a couple guys now that they're injured, but you're not putting them on the IR anymore. You're holding them out and keeping an active roster. Now, listen, Tanner Connor, you did that last year with him. You held an entire roster spot for no reason at all. Really never turned the corner, And I know other teams wanted him, and all that kind of stuff. So I know they were protecting, but you can kind of work right now. It's not so bad of a thing. It'll get worse if it's a major injury. Then it becomes a real problem.
Yeah. You're getting close to that point. Yeah. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. We're great.
No, I was just going to back up exactly what you said. Yeah, you're getting close to that point where now, if a guy is able to return, even if you know it'll be a month, but he can make the return by the late weeks of the regular season or the postseason, then you just keep him on, and then he's just DNP on the practice report, and then if a guy won't make it back, then that's when you use your IR designations.
Well, before I get a prediction from you, is the spread any good over there for the Jets Giants stadium? What's the deal? How's
Okay. Well, so I had like a late breakfast to get over, so I haven't hit it up yet. But I'll go over momentarily. I can report back to you via text, and then if you want to fill in your listeners, then you can.
Tell us post game to tell us how's.
Oh yeah, I'm back on post game anyway, so yeah, we can do it then. We'll run it back.
We'll get a quick recap. All right. So what's the prediction? What happened today?
Okay, I put in the Sun Sentinel a very low scoring game. I have it, but I do have the Dolphins covering 17-6. Is what I have. So it ends up looking a little bit maybe like it did just a few days ago against the Raiders, but the defense holds up, doesn't give up the big play like you saw against Davante Adams, and then maybe they cut down on some turnovers as well and win some time of possession running the ball. So 17-6 I have a little bit of an ugly one.
Okay. One question, because I'm going to bring it up here. I'm going to talk a little bit about it. There's a guy that plays for the Miami Dolphins, Christian Wilkins. He wanted a new contract, and he wanted Quinnen Williams money. Go through 10 games. Quinnen Williams has 38 tackles to Wilkins 21, 23 solos to 19. Quinnen Williams has 2 sacks, and Wilkins has 4.5. Wilkins has none. Quinnen Williams has a forced fumble. Wilkins has forced 1. So is Miami getting the bargain, and the Jets are overpaying this season? Is that how it goes?
It's looking like it. And remember, Quentin Williams is just coming off a monster year last year. So sometimes you see where the motivation level of it. And Christian Wilkins is a guy who says he's going to be motivated regardless. He's self-motivated. It's not over the contract. But, hey, it's got to be in the back of his head that what he had to do was add a pass rush to his game because he was elite in the other aspects of his position, setting record-setting numbers with his tackles and then the tackles for loss too, etc. The run game, the combination of him and Zach Sealer, so elite. But he needed to add the pass rush, and I think the Vic Fangio defense is good for him in that regard because it's not always all these blitzes where then quarterbacks have to get the ball out quickly. It's keying in on that four-man pass rush up front. He's got to be one of those guys, and he provides it from the interior while Bradley Chubb and Jalen Phillips are doing it off the edge. And so you're seeing that career year bringing the pressure. And it's also, I think, a motivational factor for him. It's got to be in the back of his head, although he's going to be the same guy. But, he's showing it. He knew he needed to add that to his game, and he's doing it.
Follow him on Twitter at David Furones _ catch his work every South Florida Sentinel. David, as always, thank you, my brother. We'll catch up at the post-game show.
Yes, sir. See you in a few hours.
Got it. And Welt Rheaume, man, I got to tell you, Jeff and Dan are amazing. Offices in Hollywood. They also have an office in the Keys, by the way. Okay, so whether you live in South Florida, the Keys, one of our listeners that lives in Orlando hired Welt Rheaume. Bankruptcy, homeowner claims, condo damage, criminal defense, business owner claims, commercial litigation, personal injury. Call Jeff or Dan. Maybe you're not sure if you have a case or not. Some water damage, an accident, something happened, a bankruptcy issue. You're not exactly sure. Well, the consultation is completely free. So calling them at 954-966-4646 is not an issue. Ask for Jeff Welt and then explain to him your situation, and then he's going to tell you you have a case or you don't have a case, and then you can move forward. Please call him 954-966-4646 for Welt Rheaume.
This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.